Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cooley, and I'm a product manager in the HR BU. And today we're here to talk about granular delegation, which is being released as limited access in Quebec and generally available in Rome. This video is intended as a quick start guide for anyone who's trying to implement granular delegation or just looking at it as a feature for potential implementation later. So let's dive right in. So granular delegation was created to solve for some problems with the existing delegation feature, mostly which revolve around it being essentially an all or nothing scenario, where currently the delegation feature allows users to select a delegate, a start and end date for that delegation, but then from there on, essentially everything that would have been assigned to that user is now assigned to that delegate. There is no granularity there. So for most HR customers, that's a problem because we have some benign tasks that we don't mind being delegated to others, and then we have some very, very sensitive tasks that we do need to have tighter controls on. And so that all or nothing part of the existing delegation feature was a non-starter for many of our HR customers. Additionally, the current delegation feature doesn't really give the delegator, the person who's delegating tasks, a good place to manage their delegations, right? This is mostly an admin function that would go in and set up a delegation on behalf of someone else later on in the process. But we really wanted to give employee delegators the ability to manage their delegations. The common use case here is I'm going on leave. I need to make sure that my tasks are being delegated to the appropriate people for the appropriate amount of time. And then lastly, the current delegation feature does not grant access to those users who did not already have access, right? So this delegation feature works if Maria already had access to the records that Gail was delegating. It doesn't otherwise give access. And again, HR use cases, that's not going to work because we don't have access to other users' tasks most of the time. All right, so diving in to those personas, which I've alluded to already, we have the administrator. So we want to give the administrator the ability to manage the rules that govern which types of tasks can be delegated by employees, right? So as an organization, I want to allow the delegation of HR tasks associated with new hire onboarding, but I do not want to allow the delegation of tasks associated with employee relations, for example. So you want to allow the administrator to create and manage those rules. From a delegator's perspective, I want to be able to manage my delegations. I want to be able to select what kinds of tasks I want to delegate. So again, out of the list of tasks that my admin has made available, I want to then select a subset of those tasks that I want to personally delegate, to whom I want them to be delegated to, and the time period. And then lastly, from the delegate's perspective, I want to be notified of these delegations, so I'm not just getting inundated with these tasks and not knowing why. I want to know who's delegating to me. I want to know how long I'm being delegated, how long that delegation is going to occur. And I want to have access to these tasks, right? I want to have access to the extent that the assigned to would have access so that I can make the appropriate decisions, take the appropriate actions to complete these tasks, right? One thing to call out here is that we are not intending this to be used by agents. This is really an employee-facing feature. The agent delegation use case is really much better solved by advanced work assignment. And we can cover that in another discussion. So I'm just going to quickly go through this, and then we're going to dump into the actual demo. But again, from the administrator's perspective, we create rules which govern what can and what cannot be delegated, and this is done through the platform UI, and we'll take a look at that later. From the delegators, the employee delegators perspective, we have some new interfaces on the ESC, which provide the delegator with the ability to manage their delegates and the duties that those delegates are being delegated, and again, the time period. And and also from the delegator's perspective, we're also allowing the delegator to differentiate in their to-do page tasks that have been delegated from and tasks that have not been delegated. You can see here there's this icon here that denotes that this particular task has been delegated, to whom it's been delegated to, and you can see that these other tasks, again, have not been delegated. And then lastly here, from the delegate's perspective, just some examples of the notifications that you're sent. So when any new delegation becomes active, the delegate is sent a notification, and then they can work these delegated tasks out of their to-do list as they normally would. One last thing to cover here is that we also built this functionality into the Now mobile app. So you, as a delegate, you can go in to the Now mobile app and manage your delegations, work on delegated tasks just as you would normally. All right, so with that, let's jump out and go to the demo. So I'm here in the platform UI. I'm logged in as my system administrator, and I'm looking at my new granular delegation module. So you can see here under delegation rules, I have 2 rules active right now. One is to allow the delegation of these credit card approvals, and another one is to allow the delegation of new hire onboarding tasks. So let's go create a new one here just so that you can see how it's done. So this one I'm going to create that is going to be for tuition reimbursement. And I want this this rule to allow the delegation of HR tasks associated with this HR service. So HR tasks associated with, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to select a table. And again, these are HR tasks. So we're going to select the HR task table. And then again, the condition here is the service. So we want to make sure that we're selecting tasks associated with the HR service of tuition reimbursement. And from the customers we've spoken to, that's the common use case here. That's how we're going to create most of these rules, is we're going to slice them up by HR service. That said, this is a condition builder, so you can get as fancy as you want. But for this example, we're just going to select HR service. One thing to call out here is that we are delegating HR tasks, but we are selecting we're selecting for the HR service that is not on the task, that is actually on the parent HR case. So what we need to do here is dive down to not the HR service on the task, but the HR service on the parent. So we're going to go to the parent task fields. We're going to go to the HR case. And then from here, we're going to go to HR service. HR service is tuition reimbursement request. So it's a little tricky there. So again, just to recap that, you don't want to select the HR service on the task. You want to, and this is a little confusing. It doesn't save kind of the dot walking we did here initially, but if we save this, and oops, I didn't select assignments. This is what selects the assignments associated. So let me go back into this HR service, and then you can see that we're actually selecting from the parent, the HR service from the parent case. So again, you want to select show related fields, the parent record, the HR case, and then the HR service for that example that I showed. All right, so we have our rules here. You can see here we have rules that specify what can be delegated. So by default, nothing can be delegated. And if nothing can be delegated, those when you go to the ESC, there just won't be anything available. You won't see any of those delegation features. So we have allowed the delegation of these types of tasks. So let's jump into an example. So I'm going to impersonate a manager here, Gail, and go to the ESC. We're going to see that Gail has a number of to-dos that are associated with new hire onboarding mostly. She has a bunch of new hires, bunch of new tasks. She's got to assign, buddies and whatnot, lots of tasks. And Gail's going on leave, and Gail wants to make sure that her new hire onboarding tasks are delegated to another manager who can take care of them while she's out. So we'll go to her profile, where she can manage her delegations. So you can see here that we have a new My Delegates widget. We do not have any delegates specified right now. So I'm going to dive in and select a new delegate who's going to be Beth. And I can see here some metadata about Beth, so make sure I'm selecting the right Beth. I'm going to backdate this a ways, make sure I grab some older tasks, and I'm going to say I'm going to be back on maybe next week. And then I'm going to select what kinds of tasks I want Beth to have access to, or what kinds of tasks I want to be delegated to Beth. So again, you saw those rules that we created. Here are those rules now for Gail to select. I could choose to only select one. I could choose to select all three if I wanted to. I'm going to choose to select only my new hire onboarding tasks, and I'm going to submit. All right, so now you can see I have Beth selected as my delegate. She's going to be delegated my new hire onboarding tasks, and this delegation is active now because of the time period I selected. This can be scheduled for future, and it would say scheduled, or it can also be expired once this date has been passed, and you would see an expired tag here. And at any time, I can go in here as Gail and either remove or edit this delegation to change it. So let's drop back into my to-do list, and we can see here now all of these new hire onboarding tasks have been delegated to Beth. So we can see here that they've all been delegated. So real quickly, what we're going to do is we're going to pop out and just to show you that this is working. We're going to end impersonation of Gail. We're going to impersonate Beth England. And we're going to pop over back to the ESC. Just to show you here that all those delegated tasks are now showing up in Beth's to-do list. So that's a very quick and high-level overview of the granular delegation feature in Quebec. We are building some enhancements in the Rome release for the generally available release of granular delegation. If you have any, again, my name is Ryan Cooley. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. But really excited for everyone to jump in and test this new feature out with your own use cases, and let us know what you think. Thanks for your time.